we will now invite Mr. Tai Lee Xiang, Executive Director of Build SG under the Building and Construction Authority, to share his thoughts on what a good design research project should encapsulate. Thank you, Lee Xiang.
Thanks, Julia. Very good afternoon to every one of you. In today's highly competitive business world, products and services have to meet often complex requirements. It's no longer just about trade. It's also about social, it's about environment. So with such complexities, the only way to succeed in design is really to incorporate research into the process. And in the first batch of applications, we do come across some applications that in my view, wrongly associate research as just simply the creative process. So I think even in my view of architecture, we have heard some of our practitioners who say that, okay, as we design, we are actually doing research, but that's not quite the case. To me, research is a scientific process that requires the right identification of problem statement. Oftentimes, I think this is where things go wrong, because if you don't identify the right problem statement, you actually go down a pathway that leads you to nowhere. So do take time to kind of define what is the problem. And there are applications we find that kind of scale the problem at a too shallow a level, or sometimes it gets too ambitious and they can't deliver the solutions. So it really had to meet a kind of a sweet spot. And the next thing will be the right methodology, the process of research. So this is again not something that designers are used to. Some may have methodology for design, but research is again something that we need to even draw inspiration from the scientific world. Of course, we are not doing scientific inventions. So there will be a difference, and that's something which we need to take cognizance of. And I would say another important thing in the GDR process is finding the right partners. They are not necessarily associated with design field in the traditional sense. So this is where designers must be ready to work with a whole range of players, which may be very upstream or maybe very downstream in the usual process of creating solutions. And they could be people like data scientists, something which again, designers may not be very used to, working with data, and especially sometimes we have to do numbers crunching. For example, another type of specialist would be material specialists. A lot of design ideas often fall flat at the final implementation because at the concept level, it sounds right, it looks workable, but when you kind of bring the actual materials in, you find that you can't work with traditional materials and you have to almost sometimes synthesize new materials. That's where the challenge begins. And I will also say that it'd be good to actually work with downstream players like manufacturers who have a lot of experience in making things. Designers usually are very good at conceptualizing, but may not really be familiar with all the bolts and nuts. And that's where we need to bring partners in. So if I would just like to conclude is that good design research is an excellent program. We are seeing new fruits yielded, especially in the second batch. It really takes design up a notch to a different level and reach the outcome and creating unique products and services, solutions in the process that I think also very importantly is that it actually solve our challenges in society, be it social, economic, or environment, and bring a lot of meaningful benefits to the end users. So I look forward to really another batch of excellent submissions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee Xiang, for even allowing us to think about both, I guess, upstream and downstream support in a good design research project. With that, let's invite our next evaluation panel member, Mr. Dulisha Kulasuria, Executive Director of Deloitte Center for the Age in Asia, to also expand on what good design research looks like to him. Thank you, Dulisha.
Hi, Julia. I think Lee Xiang actually covered a lot of ground in terms of expectations. So to add to that, I think the video reel you saw showed 3 of our best kind of applicants who went through the GDR process, right? They had a clear product idea. They had a clear sense of what they were researching for and a clear output that had impact and value. So we're going to look for all of those things. But a few things to add to that. I want to step back and say, why is the GDR program here in the first place? It's to elevate the overall design ethos and design capability in Singapore. So we are looking for a portfolio. So we do want a wide range, and in that range should be some that are very strong in some aspects, some that are more futuristic. So we're looking for that range, right? So don't feel afraid if you feel it's too timid or if it's too ambitious. Put forward your proposal. We'll go through a couple of cycles, and we'll get to a good place about it. But having said that, do the research. There were many applicants who came in with what they thought was a seemingly great idea, but without having done the research to say that, hey, has this been done elsewhere? Are there other examples? So when you come to the table, please do the research to show that you recognize what's already in the marketplace or what's already been researched, and the unique thing that you are doing to expand the knowledge base in that research field, right? So do that work. But having said that, please stretch. Bring something magical, bring something new. Yes, we want the high quality, but we also want you to stretch and say, not just go for what you know to do, but to stretch further away. We recognize that most of you are busy running your business and don't have the time or the energy or the funds to do this piece of research. So this is a really incredible opportunity to get funding for that, but use it strategically. Pick the 1 or 2 things that you always wanted to do that you couldn't, that you can research. Absolutely underline what Lee Xiang said in bringing the partners. Use this as an opportunity to bring together others that you'd have had a hard time collaborating before. If you're a designer, bring a manufacturer into it. If you're a manufacturer, bring a marketing person into it. Find the angle of research that's been holding you back and see if you can craft a proposal around that. But make sure that the proposal you craft is also adding something new, not just to you, but to the overall topic or the industry that you're in. I think that's what would make it very successful in my side, in my evaluation. So thank you.
Thank you, Delisha. I think that was very encouraging for our designers to be more experimental with their design research practice. It's the magic that they can add, right? Finally, let's welcome Ms. Cristina Ventura, who is the founder and CEO of Ventura X Ventures, to close this segment with her thoughts on what good design research should encapsulate. Cristina, please.
Thank you, Julia, for the great session. So it's an honor again to be here because last year, guys, we were working together with Alicia and Lee Xiang, and we are all very aligned. So I'm going to support definitely all his points. There were 4 areas that we were looking, and this year I would love as well that we work together, guys, on this. So one is what a good proposal would entail in a very simple value proposition. So how in a sentence would you enhance the customer experience and to truly do good and do well? So what does that good mean? And what does that product or experience would impact people's lives? So how to enhance customer experience, I believe that's number 1. Then the other one is as well, fully agree with the comments already made, the research. So we loved last year the ones that you guys, they made an incredible in-depth research. So as you might know, 60% of the projects normally fail or do not get funded because there was no need for that. So in this case, if you have a deep research that then proves your product or service, that would be great because that supports definitely the fact that might be needed. And definitely after COVID, there's plenty of opportunities. So that would be the second point, what is expected on depth of the research. Then the third, the impact. So there's different ways of measure impact. I love to measure in 3 areas, more on the people, planet, and profit. So in these 3 areas. So if you can share in depth analysis how that impact, the community, the long-term, of course, Singapore as well, but maybe Southeast Asia or maybe globally, how this could be scalable and sustainable per se, because something if it does do good and well is good if it's sustainable. So these 3 areas of impact. And then as well, very important, the follow on, follow through. So how this could be implemented immediately. Maybe you are already working on that. Maybe you are shaping a bit so it can be applicable for the project, and therefore we can definitely help you. I'm helping and follow up a couple of them already, and as well considering investing in one of them because they're doing extremely well. I love what they do. So that as well, one of the ideas. How can we support guys from not only the day itself, but as well afterwards through mentorship, through investment, through network connections, expansion, and so on. And then one of the areas, for example, of as well measurement could be the relevance of the idea. I have done a few areas that I believe was very important. Relevance, the desirability of the product or service, as well the innovation. How innovative is the idea? Is it something new or is something that is building from something that already existed? How innovative and disruptive it is? How feasible, extremely important as well. So could be innovative, but if it's not feasible to execute, might not be so relevant. So feasibility is important. Sustainability. All of us were huge believers in sustainability, as you know. So not only sustainability at the project or service, but as well sustainability of the business model. So we love to see the idea on how sustainable it is to execute. And last but not least, the impact. Yeah, so relevance, desirability, innovation, feasibility, sustainability, and the impact over the overall project. So anything you need these days as well before you present, feel free to reach to us. It's important that the idea is, again, very clear, strong proposal with a deep research, assessment, the impact of the project, and the follow-on, follow-through that you might need and that we can support you with.
Thank you, Cristina, for that very generous sharing, and the rest of the panel members as well. So as we move on into the next segment, which is Q&A, can I request for the evaluation panels to leave their cameras on at this point while I invite our moderator and supported GDR designers on stage. So let's welcome Jo So, a moderator for our Q&A session and also the Deputy Director of our Industry Development Office in DSG, along with our supported designers from past GDR open calls, Morgan, who's the Director of Roger & Sons, and Tamir, together with Jean Lee, who are founders and co-founders of Jean Lee Studio. So thank you everyone for being here today, and Jo, over to you.
Let me just kick things off. And so to help everybody, all interested applicants with the submissions for GDR, I just want to go straight to an evaluation panelist first. I think following on to the very interesting points that everyone has raised, I wanted to ask, and I'll just cherry pick somebody right now. Li Xiang, what do you think a strong proposal entails?
Well, I think Cristina has touched on that point. To me, I think I would just use the word clarity. Sometimes we find that when the proposal comes to us, and even with in-person presentation, there is a lack of clarity. So clarity really is going back to fundamental. What is the problem? What is the challenge? So if that is not even articulated clear enough, I can 100% guarantee you the solutioning will be worse. It's not going to be anywhere clearer. That said, the challenge statement or a problem statement need not be something too complex. So sometimes I find the simplicity is bliss. So, and they are very obvious and very apparent. In today's world, we're full of problems. So just pick something that you can manage and you think there is a horizon for innovation. I think that will take you a long way. And I use one example here. I think Morgan is here about local trees. That stays in my mind very strongly because it is a problem. We have tons of trees. And what do you do with them? So with that simple problem statement, they created interesting solutions that we could have done this many, many years ago, but again, the timing is right for them. So that's my take.
Thank you, Li Xiang. I mean, I did pick up that all three evaluation panelists said clarity is super important. I think people might also be kind of fraught with how clear is too clear. I mean, because there was something about identifying the right challenge statement, problem statement to address. Don't go too shallow, don't be too ambitious. So they're trying to find, in order to find the right space between these sort of parameters, being innovative and yet being clear at the same time, and yet researching is something they don't know anything about. So I don't know, Dulisha, is there any examples that come to mind which is a good idea of clear but still ambitious?
Well, the ambitious part is what should capture our imagination, right? And to what Li Xiang said, what Morgan did with like 2,300 trees get cut in Singapore, and we don't do much with it. Like that, like just like a big, there's something big going on that gets you like, wow, there's some like, or the in terms of the number of water bottles that get thrown out or the recycling of, like there has to be a bigger piece that if we were to solve this is bigger. But then once you had that bigger piece, you really had to narrow it down to something that is manageable within the time and scale that's afforded. Right? That's again what Lisa pointed out. So that's where you have to say the problem statement, like there's a big problem statement and there's a minor problem statement that you're going to go do with the GDR with this research. And so make the big one be as imaginative, creative, make the small one be kind of tangible so that you can clearly understand what you will achieve at the end of the time. I think that's what you're looking for, right? It's the mix between there's a big, ambitious, magical thing, but there's also like a piece that this will lead to a tangible result in the direction of that big piece.
Okay, yes. Also, because to highlight to everybody, the program, there is a time limit, and that is just 12 months. And at the end of 12 months, you have to show a proof of concept. Yeah. So that's also one of the criteria in which we measure or assess a proposal as well.
And just a side note,
yes,
I discovered Morgan and the work through Rajan Sons through the Good Design Research Project. And we have one of the tables in our office. It's a beautiful piece that we talk to everyone about.
Great. Thank you, Dulisha. Well, Morgan, you've been brought up twice now. I have to bring you on and ask you about your research. How was it for you? What were there some challenges that you faced in your research work?
Yeah, I think for us, the bigger picture for us is just the amount of trees that has been cut down in Singapore. So Singapore cuts unofficially about 100 trees a day. We don't really see about it or know about them. And so the idea was to start the local tree project to really solve this problem. And we didn't know how to go about to do it. And we really wanted to find users for the trees. So we went into the good design research with this big picture of how we want to be able to use different parts of the trees eventually, with the branches and the leaves and the roots and all sorts of things. But then we narrow it down and we say, the first thing and the most important thing is finding out more about these trees. That means what are the properties of the local wood, are we able to stabilize it? How do we work with it properly? And I think as a small firm, we have a lot of friends and people asking me, hey, Morgan, why don't you try doing this or try doing that? But I think as small business owners, we're very short of resources, especially with money, time, and as well as manpower. I think with this research that has been that we have undertaken, it kind of gave us the opportunity to go out and engage a professional that will be able to give us really good feedback, and really give us a proper scientific measurements and properties about the local wood. And then with that also to do a bit of research on how to densify it. So it's kind of win-win because now we have finally information about how the local wood are and then how we can densify it. And I think for us, it was really difficult because we always want to do research, right? And I think for us, we don't know how to do it. Who do we go and engage? Do we go and speak to research companies or who? And being a very small firm, we're just very afraid that nobody just would like to entertain us. So I was very happy that when when we spoke to DSG about, are there partners that they can recommend to us for us to be able to meet like research companies. So DSG kind of introduced us to IPI. So IPI is actually an arm for Enterprise Singapore, where they gather companies and they have research companies as well as people looking for research. So they introduced us to them, and I was speaking to Alvin from IPI, and he was very, very helpful introducing us to different partners. And yeah, so it's really quite a good experience for us.
Can I ask quickly, how did you even
Yes.
think about using the trees off of the side of our highways? I mean, did you just look up at trees one day and say, I wonder how many trees get cut down?
Actually, this all started with Mandai. So Mandai development came to us and asked us whether or not, because they're going to cut some trees for the new development, for the new park. So there was the guy who was in charge in Mandai for sustainability. So he came to us and said, hey, we're going to cut some trees. Do you want to make and turn them into furniture? And that I told him that it's our first time trying it. We never tried it before, but if you're willing to go on this journey, we're willing to try it out with you. So we did on that job. And as we were going in and we're talking to the uncles and we're seeing the amount of trees that has been cut down, we just realized that it's a big problem that we have. It just doesn't make sense to import wood from overseas when you have perfectly good wood that we can try to work in Singapore. Just that the issue in Singapore is that we don't have the time. Like all these uncles and older guys, they don't really have the time, money, resources, or the determination to be able to spend resources to go and research onto it. And so with this, it really kind of gives us opportunity to share the information, not only for ourselves, because this information is given to the public, and we want to be able to share with other carpenters, with other people, so that there will be more users for these trees now.
Okay, great. Because you are from the first batch of a cohort, the brand designers that came on, and at that point in time, we hadn't officially had challenge statements from corporates yet. But you, in fact, in effect, got a problem statement from the Mandai people, right? Who told you about this? Because I guess the way we get rid of our trash here is so well, we don't even see the trees being disposed somewhere, so we wouldn't have thought of coming up with a solution for that. Okay, thanks very much, Morgan. I'm just going to ask Jin Lee a question now. Well, Tamir and Jin from Jin Lee. In your project, it's around fashion. How did you come about thinking of your problem statement and what you're addressing, and how did you address it?
So in our business, we are doing fashion business. There's a lot of waste that because of the way that things are made, because of the way the industry operates. This industry basically creates a lot of waste, a lot of sewn goods that no one is buying. It creates a vicious circle in that you see it in the discounts in the season. People trying to get rid of stuff, and we thought that something is wrong with the whole thing. And we kind of, at a certain point, we decided, okay, this is our mission. We're gonna fight this waste. We're gonna make our operation more effective and more efficient. And we had a vision that we wanted to create. We wanted to make things in the shop, because we figured out that if you have the ability to make it in the shop, means that you can actually fulfill what the customer wants, right? So if it's made in the shop upon request, there is no waste. All right. So this vision was there at the beginning, and in good design research, we had to figure out how to achieve it, how to make it.
And how has the good design research itself helped you move your research further along? Because I'm aware that you had because we were both on another program before, I'm aware that you had a knocked up wooden version that you made yourself. How did it progress into the gleaming stainless steel in your store today?
Yeah, so definitely it gives you a boost. It gives you the ability to prototype and to actually make things more properly. Obviously, you can. It made us connect to other people, other bodies that help us to develop and to think of ideas. we had mentors that
Yes.
guide us and help us to find the right direction.
Was there anything specific that a mentor helped you with?
Yes, I think that you have a lot of ideas. You have a lot of things that you kind of think that's going to work, or you think that is amazing, and sometimes like someone that's coming from like someone professional that can actually direct you better to what's right, what is the right way to do it, like maybe help you to narrow down and to focus.
Like we had the overall vision of what we want to do. We want to make it in shop. Therefore, we wouldn't do until we will not make it until the customer want it. But then we came to obstacle that is technical. Like as you mentioned, machinery. We had obstacle, which is the processes. But we were doing pleating in the end of the day as a last mile fulfillment, and we find like, okay, the amount of time it takes to pleat is too long. It's not making sense. Like it is too long making the pleat mold, and it get mangled out too quickly. Okay, it doesn't make sense. So there were many things that we were looking at, trying to solve, like in order to get to that vision. So I think when Chiwei came in, we spoke to him about like all these things that we're trying to do, and realized the customer was actually really getting the experience part. Like they were really impressed and wow, what's going on, all that. And we didn't know how to kind of like process it. Which one do I do first? I want to do everything because our overall vision is there, but at the same time we find like that's technical and all that. So it's very good in a way that because we kind of like sat down with him and just ran through the whole thing, and he kind of like highlight to us, guys, okay, this is really the magic that you're trying to bring across. Why are you touching on this? Like that could be if paper is what you're looking at and the ROI is so high for this cost, then why try to innovate that part where it doesn't really make sense,
Okay.
So those are the direction that we've been given that help us to clarify a little bit of thinking along the way.
So you're really testing out different ideas. You were diverging, and then the mentor came in and helped you to converge and come to a resting point at the end of the 12 months, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Jin. Can I also
Joe,
ask?
Can I add a quick comment?
Yes,
Just to
please.
be fair, I have acquired many pieces from Jin and Tamira as well. They make beautiful stuff. So everyone should check that out.
I have a piece myself too.
Me too. I love it, guys. Super nice. Thank you.
And they appreciate getting other opinions from mentors that are not husband or wife.
Cristina.
Joe,
Yeah, go on. Yes, Li Xiang.
Yeah, Cristina, go ahead. You haven't made any comment yet. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to give Cristina a chance because we have about, say, like 10 minutes left. Cristina, how is your experience so far with mentoring? Because I understand you're mentoring 1 or 2 brands right now.
Correct. So very interesting question, guys, because I had the 2 extremes type of experience. So ones that, we met a couple of times and they were extremely attentive. They understood, the importance of going as well scalable and sustainable to have a strong business model. But then I didn't hear anything back, so it was more like they saw that they were, lacking a bit of shaping on the business model to be able to scale. But then there was no following up from their side. So I couldn't, of course, doing anything else, But then the other extreme, I had someone that said, Cristina, I need your help. Can you please do more sessions with me? Which of course I said yes. And we had already several sessions. We meet constantly to the point that I'm happy to invest as well.
Awesome.
Has been extremely dedicated, extremely responsible, and really, willing as well to take some of the comments and some of the feedback. And we are working together to make that happen.
That's great.
There's no right or wrong. I mean, I understand if somebody prefers to keep a small business, not to grow, just go local and, being able to survive, so it's fine. Or if they want to go more, global, they were featured at Vogue, for example. I connected them as well with different areas, and now they're ready to thrive and to go more global. So again, it's totally personal, but I'm happy to, like holding the call, I'm sure, to go as far as needed.
That's good sharing. Yeah. Thank you. That's good sharing, because I think that essentially tells interested applicants that this is how you maximize the mentorship that you're paired with. Not just have one meeting and go off, but be really, put your skin in the game and be really committed. Thank you, Cristina. Li Xiang, might you like to just share what you wanted to share?
I just wanted to use Tamia and Jean's example to again reinforce the point that they saw a problem, a very needful problem that seriously, I don't think there's enough effort globally to solve. So a very simple identification of problem. The second thing is the solution. They have some idea about making in-shop. So again, this is something we thought as an evaluation panel has tremendous potential because it has a kind of a legacy in that people used to tailor-made in-shop, right? But today you can't do it, but why, you know? And that's exactly why people like to buy fashion that's unique to themselves. So that's how the panel saw the potential of this and picked the project for GDR. I hope this actually will inspire those who are listening in to see that we're not looking for always very unique or very complex problem. We're looking for a problem that is very prevalent, not just locally, but even globally. And then we're looking for a potentially impactful solution. And the rest is actually, I wanted to say that the process is not going to be just they themselves solving it. We together as a team, together as panel, as mentor, will help to enrich the solution as far as we can.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Lee Xiang. Tulisha, may I also ask you to speak on some of the softer projects that you've mentored on? So far we've been talking about wooden furniture and pieces and fashion.
Some of the softer ones are harder. There's one right now around music, and frankly, they're struggling. They had an idea which they came in with a partner that they had anchored, but the partner kind of fell out. So now they're trying to retool themselves, and we will have some of those, right? Like, and it's okay. So part of it is kind of, again, going back to the recognition that this effort from Design Singapore Council is to elevate the whole design, kind of the using design and good design in the process. So those are to be expected.
Okay, yeah, it's part and parcel of the experimentation and trying out
that
process.
Shouldn't be the expectation from us or from them, but it is also to be expected that one or two of these might struggle. Trying to think any of the other softer ones. Well, the other ones are the one that Tong Yi did, again, was not a tangible kind of like physical output, but very strong. But then again, he had many, many years of research backing him up, again, tackling very, very big problems, very structured. And that was an easy yes. And they will deliver on that. And they're therefore expanding on that. And I'm looking forward to their output that we can then take to other places as well, because they really are pushing the boundary on doing community-based research.
So for example, if I take the first example you gave, the music project, the performances project, right? So how are you helping to, without divulging too much, how are you helping to shape and mentor these incubatees or mentees?
Well, we are at a bit of a stall space right now because we explored who else they might partner with. We explored what else they might look at, but ultimately comes back to them to go back, do the work, do the research, and come back with a kind of a proposal to get back on track.
Basically, it comes back down to, I mean, essentially, if I may summarize, correct me if I'm wrong, the process to research and innovation is not a linear one, is not straight. You can go in funny little circles and backwards and forwards, but you can guide them and give them connections and mentor them. But ultimately, it's the participants who have to do the work and roll up the sleeves, right?
Like Jin and Tamir said, they had multiple things they want to do, and they got some direction. It seemed like the right thing. They went after it. It turned out to be a great way to focus what they were doing. There's another project around Kanaf that Lee Xiang is helping with, and he heard them and said, like, guys, yours, this is too small. I'm going to bring you into BCA and we're going to figure out how to scale this. So they might have a scaled ambition from what they started off as a result of that, right? So again, these things can get narrowed down and focused based on the impact on the input, or they could get scaled up based on the input, could get many different directions. But as far as the proposal goes, put your best foot forward for something ambitious, yet something that is achievable within the research context. And after that, be open to where it might take you.
That's a good thing that you touched on, which is about outcomes. What do you expect the follow through of the projects should ideally be? Do they just research and end it there on one extreme example, or do they conquer the world? What do you think?
They should at a minimum follow through on the pledge, right? They are getting a grant on the basis of what on the proposal, so they should follow through on the proposal and follow through on that. Now, if you of any grouping, I'd say like 20-30% will run into snacks from that what they proposed, and those are the ones that had to retool and say, are we like, which direction are they going? Some of the ones would come in and do exactly what they said. Some would come in and do that and more, and some will kind of struggle to get where they wanted to, and maybe get redirected to a different option. But I think it's what winning the grant is only one part of it. Seeing it through and helping the overall design community is the bigger one. And all the folks we have here on Tamir, Jin, and Morgan are those who are elevating kind of the design scene. And we want to bring more and more into the fold here. And what we're hoping from the next cycle and onwards is to build more of a community around them so they can start helping each other and expanding this whole program.
Thank you. Thank you, Delisha, for sharing those points. Christina, you've raised your hand.
My virtual hand, just to support as well Delisha's point, because that was very relevant last year. In fact, Joe, remember that the ones that win, I mean, it's a responsibility as well. It's such an honor to be part of this process. And it's a lot of money, you know, that they earn as well. And it's a beautiful opportunity to really put their name and their brand, like Gilly is the perfect example, into the map. Because Singapore is becoming, as you know, really the hub for, you know, Southeast Asia, innovation, design, consumer tech. It's really the place to be now. I mean, with all what's going on in the world, I believe this is an incredible opportunity for the participants to take this as a catalyst for impact and to really use all the community, because we are really working very hard as well to make sure that there's this ecosystem that we create together from fashion, art, design, technology. All together we work to make sure that this is just the beginning of a long-term journey to work together to make them local if they want, but if they want to expand as well, for sure we help them to expand at a regional or global level.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So basically you get out of it what you put into it,
Yes.
right? And with that, I thank you all evaluation panelists and the designers for their time. And I'm going to hand the virtual mic back to Julia.
Thank you, Joe. That was a really thought-provoking Q&A session. Thank you all for your time and your inputs with the questions. So we hope that you have found the session inspiring and meaningful thus far. And as you move towards coming to a close, we are actually really curious to hear from you, our audience, to get a sense of the interest in the room. So how many of you are interested to participate in our GDR open call this round? Could you please respond to the poll that should come up on your screen anytime now? And I will just give everyone a quick 10 seconds or so to respond to this quickly. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I wonder what would have been it if you had a maybe in there in between the yes and the no.
Actually, that's a good point.
Felicia,
no, we want
please.
100% yes. Just kidding. But wow, I think we are sharing our results now, if I'm not wrong. You should be able to see it on your screen. And it's really heartening to know that 94% of you are interested in submitting for our Good Design Research open call. So thank you for your interest, and we really look forward to your submissions. And I think with what the evaluation panel and our designers have said, I think design research is still a relatively new discipline in Singapore, and we hope that this interest will continue to grow and inspire the larger design community to adopt strong design research in their practice. So on this note, if you have any further clarifications or would like to even check if your proposal is suitable for the GDR initiative, please feel free to reach out to us at industry@designsingapore.org. Or you can also scan the QR code, which should come up on the screen really soon for more details on the GDR initiative. So thank you so much for all of your time today, both our panelists, our designers, and the participants tuning in. And with this, let's finally bring this session to a close. So thank you for joining us this evening, and we hope to meet you one day through our future events or even as part of our GDR community. Have a delightful rest of the evening and see you again. Bye.